Gone are the days of formal etiquette. So, what should you do in the maddening social situations you face every day? How long should you take to respond to that message? What should you say to get out of that gathering? When you start seeing a new therapist, how do you talk about it with your first therapist whom you are still seeing? This is No Etiquette, the podcast where we address modern etiquette questions in a nonsense fashion. I'm Vivian Lee, coming to you from Singapore, and joining me on the line is my best friend, Sophia Bose in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Vivian. How are you?
I despise that question, but I have an update for our listeners on some of the things that we've been up to. Well, listeners, we were on vacation in Norway and Sweden some weeks ago, as we've described in previous episodes. And something we discussed in an even earlier episode was that you, Sophia, have never been inside a gym.
Well, now I have.
Yeah, sorry, you had never, and now you have.
Now everybody must know I have. I have been inside of a gym.
Not even just one gym, but two gyms.
Two of them. And one was in the sky, and one was not in the sky.
So first came Sky Gym. Sky Gym was in Stavanger, right?
I think so, yeah. It was in Stavanger.
Yeah. It was advertised to us. I think it even have like Sky in there was Sky Bar, right? Was Sky Bar?
It was Sky advertised. Everything about it was Sky. Like I think that was it was the Sky Gym, Sky Bar.
And by Sky, I think it was maybe like the 17th floor or something, but relative to Stavanger, it was pretty sky. It had a good view of it was towering over. It was taller. Sky was a fair term.
I would say so. It was as sky as that building could get.
Yes. And so we went into Sky Gym, which with the idea almost that we were maybe going to record an episode, but it was such a like gym smelling gym, but it had quite a nice view. It was sort of like this glass paneled view of Stavanger. I think you could see the water a little bit. You could see the other. It was a nice view.
It was a really nice view. You could see a lot of Stavanger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that was Sky Gym, so you can imagine you're like, high powered, I don't know, business guest, who arrives in Stavanger and must get on the elliptical, right, and do their weights and keep fit whilst in Stavanger and would like to do so in the sky.
Yes. I can imagine that kind of person. Yes.
And then the next gym we went to was in our hotel in Gamlestan in Stockholm, Sweden. Mm-hmm. And did we find this gym by mistake, or did we know it was there?
Well, I think that this is going to lead us into probably one of my favorite stories with you, which is the fact that you have this like superpower type of situation going, where you can unlock like parts of buildings, like in a game, like when you find like the secret level. So what happened is you found the secret level. I don't think we were looking for it. We found the secret level for the buffet thing, and then it like wrapped around it, didn't it? Or were we just exploring?
I can't remember what we did first. I think we found the gym first because we decided to go down to we wanted to see what was in the basement.
It was closed. I remember it was closed though. Like I think it was locked or something, and you tried the door. Like I think yes, we tried our key card and it didn't work, but then you opened it and then it worked. Like I don't think it was open for people to go inside of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's why I thought we were taking all those pictures, because we were so excited that we weren't allowed to be there and we were there. Wait, is that what you thought? No.
Oh gosh, it didn't even occur to me. I just thought it was that they just didn't turn the lights on because no one was there. Because it wasn't. We found out we were not there in summer. We were there in like low tourist season. But you're right. It was. That's so funny that I just assumed that it was open to us because the door was open, and I pushed it open. Yep. It was dark. It was pitch dark. We were down in the basement.
They didn't want us there. Like it was even there on the hours. Yeah, like in the elevator, they had the hours, and we were not supposed to be there at that time. I thought you knew. I thought this was just.
I did not. I did not know.
Okay. I assumed you did. I thought this was just like the part of me that's like unexpectedly like rebellious, But I wasn't going to say anything.
Came out later when we found another passage. We got into the breakfast buffet area after hours through another elevator, very sneakily. And it was part of the
So you say
exploration we
we,
did.
but I think it was you. Like, you did a very good job of doing this. I
I
just
did have
followed
this,
along.
yeah, I had this video game intuition that if we found a back way, we would be able to enter, and that there would probably not in this particular hotel be another door. And sure enough, we took the other elevator and we went straight in to this area that was closed off with a door on the other side, the main entrance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
I even
listeners,
got
I know
to
this is very complicated.
All you need to know is that I don't think that we were necessarily supposed to be there, but you found a
I
way
didn't
to
even
get us
I
there.
didn't even realize that. So we go in. It's pitch dark. I think maybe I can't even remember if we turned lights on or if we simply were there and we were. But anyway, the first thing we went through was Dungeon Salon.
Oh my gosh.
Do you
It
remember
was
Dungeon
so
Salon?
dungeon. It
We
was
went
the most
downstairs.
dungeon.
We pushed open a door. We went downstairs.
Yeah.
Stairs we did not
Yes.
expect to be going down. It was into
didn't.
darkness,
It
silent.
kept going down.
Kept going down. Turned a corner,
And-
you know?
Mhm.
And I remember there was a corner because there was one of those chairs that like, you know, like if you can't walk up the stairs assisted, you know, you sit on the chair and the chair goes up the rail.
Oh, was that what that was?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know what that was?
No, I didn't. I just thought it was chair. Oh, this is great. You know, this is what it, you know, when two people look at something and they see things that are completely different. Like here you thought this is open for the public and this is a chair that helps people go up and down. And I was like, we're breaking in and there's random chair.
A random chair mounted to the wall.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand fully why that was there, but I thought it was like a Nordic thing or like a Swedish. Like I was just attributing anything I didn't understand to like culture.
Which we will get to as our exact topic of the day. And that's great that you just imagined it was part of culture. No, I recognized it because I'd seen them before, and I had once had a landlady she was kind of elderly, and she had one. And it was kind of funny.
good.
I would sometimes, I would watch her. She would sit on the chair and like slowly go up the staircase with, you know, like the chair would just slowly go up the side. And she would continue talking to me while she slowly ascended.
Oh, that's so lovely. And were you walking slowly also with her?
No, she lived upstairs and I lived downstairs, so she was disappearing into her
She was
abode,
just disappearing.
like a god ascending.
This is
you know?
really good. This is so good. So good.
Benevolently looking down at me. She also used it to
Aw.
bring like groceries and things up and down the stairs, which she needed.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, wait. So when she's going up the stairs, so then does that mean her back was to you whilst she was talking with you?
Nope,
'Cause
your
you
front face
weren't-
is outward. Because the back of the chair is mounted to the wall. It's actually on a rail thing that goes parallel to the stairs.
I don't like that very much. It's like a backwards train. Like you'd want, like.
Yeah,
I mean,
sideways.
I'm okay with backwards trains, but sideways.
Yeah, you're going sideways. You're going
Clearly,
laterally.
I have not seen these. This is like all very confusing to me. Okay, so she's still facing you while you were talking to her, while she was ascending into her. Okay,
Yep.
That's good. Okay,
Into her
I
lair.
understand now. I understand.
So I saw one of those going to Dungeon Salon. And so we get down into this dark floor, which I didn't even realize was closed. And there's just these salon chairs. And there's boxes of Swedish salon products, hair products. They look moderately up to date, you know, like there's rows and rows. They really designed this as a place that could be a viable salon, and there was like a seating area, and there were these actually quite scary posters of like women with their hair dyed strange, fanciful colors. Because it was so dark downstairs, it was like spooky.
Yeah.
These spooky women looking at you with their.
It was really spooky, and like the way that those chairs were sitting, like just. Given the general atmosphere, it was like in a horror movie when you see like a dentist chair out of, and suddenly you feel like there was that weird. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, because they were like salon chairs that could like recline. That you know, like you were when you sat in them, you were so vulnerable, right? It's like Sweeney Todd.
Some sort of mechanical thing going on to you. Like you just don't know what's gonna happen to you in a
terrifying chairs. And then a lot of things were like under cloth drapes. You know, like Miss Havisham style or something, because it was closed. Of course.
Yes, it was closed.
Box of product. Yeah, and one of the first things I said to you was, this is the worst place to have a hair salon because there's no ventilation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you're
Because
like
of
dyeing someone's hair or something, you're just inhaling all the chemical fumes. And they were
yeah,
like those
that
big,
chemical.
yeah, there were
Yeah,
even those like things that go over your head to perm your hair, like those big
yeah,
machines.
yeah.
It had a very, now
It,
that I'm thinking about it, it had a kind of like a deserted lab of human
it had a deserted
experimentation
lab. Yes,
feel to it.
human experimentation. You're right. You're right. And it felt slightly out of place. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it was creepy. It was a creepy place.
It was very creepy. And now I remember it because
Yeah.
we were a little freaked out going down the stairs. And this was the day, dear listeners, if you recall, the day that we passed the creepy boat, the world's creepiest
No,
boat.
was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No. So
Yes.
we. Oh wow.
We
So
were
we had
all
the
like
creepiest afternoon, and then we
feared.
like
Yeah. Yeah. We
we were
sat on our
all
bench.
feared.
Remember, it was too cold to sit on our bench. So we said, well, this is the day we'll explore our hotel.
Oh my gosh.
So we
The whole
were,
day was this is a Halloween episode. Vivian, if this was like if we were to like this was the Halloween episode, right?
yeah,
Because like we
I
go
think
back
so.
to the safety of our hotel, except it's
Yeah.
not. It's human experimentation tunnel.
Yeah. It's the most haunted of all.
Yes.
And so I was quite jumpy. I think you were too. We were quite jumpy and we
I had
were
tea in my hand. I
exploring.
could only be so jumpy. Like I had to I remember we both had tea in our hands. We couldn't be that jumpy. We had to like balance it.
Maybe I think I'd gotten rid of my tea by then, but we were,
No,
we were
you
holding
didn't.
our
We set
phones
it
out
down.
because I was still carrying
That
it.
is true.
Oh, and it was full because I wasn't drinking all of it because I realized it was
We
black
weren't
tea.
drinking it.
It was black
There
tea,
you go.
black currant
That's it.
tea, and I didn't want to drink
Yeah,
all this
yeah,
black tea for the caffeine.
yeah.
So, okay, you're right. We're exploring,
Yeah.
and we're a
It's
little
very
freaked out, and it's so quiet, and there's nobody, and we're in this
quiet.
haunted salon, and we keep going forward, and we don't know what we're going to find. You're right. We don't know. We're in darkness, and it's like kind of like it has this slight, the ceiling's a little low. It has this sort of like almost unfinished basement look to it a little bit because it's the stone. It's this like we found it later. It's like, oh, how old was this building? It's very old.
1800s. I mean, it was old. Yeah.
It was so old, and it was the kind that you can't make structural changes to it because it's so old. It's a
Yeah.
preserved building. Old
It
building.
was 3 buildings smushed together.
3 buildings smushed together, which is why there was such an interesting maze of staircases and elevators connecting it.
Yeah.
And we're in this like kind of creepy narrow tunnel. I can't remember if there were like exposed dangling wires. I don't think so, but I always think back to this
No,
one
there was
time
some
I was
pipes.
exploring. There's definitely pipes, right? Yeah, so it's
There's
that
lots of
kind of
exposed
feeling.
pipes.
Yeah.
Not in like a trendy way. It was exposed
Yeah.
pipes, but it almost looked like it wasn't trendy. Yeah.
It wasn't trendy. They were just exposed pipes. And I round the corner and I'm like actively a little afraid. I don't know what we're going to see.
Mhm.
And it was Dungeon Gym.
It was Dungeon Gym.
It was Dungeon Gym. You go through like a narrow, like what's the word? Like kind of like doorway of stone or brick or something.
Yeah.
You turn a
Archway.
sharp corner and suddenly you are standing in a tiny gym. There are like the gym mats on the floor. There's gym equipment everywhere. It looks like torturer's equipment. And this is something we said at the time. And that is, gym equipment is to
Yeah.
exert your
It is,
body.
exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes in painful ways.
Yes.
So there's like, and it's kind of standard stuff, but it looks creepy because it's like dark. There's like, like the bikes. There's like the machines where you pull the weights down. There were like those like, you recognize this, like the bands that you like attach to this, to like the ceiling and you like pull on them.
Yeah. Or chair.
Yeah. There's
Which
weights
I have.
everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all kind of normal stuff, but packed into this tiny dungeon room. Dungeon Gym was utterly terrifying. It also had no ventilation. It had a tiny fan in one corner. They really tried. It was dark. They knew this was a problem. There was a tiny fan. But it was also, if a salon was the worst thing to put in a dungeon, a gym is the second worst thing.
Yeah, because like, how are you breathing? Like, you're expending all of this, like, and the one other thing I remember is like the lighting situation. There was like, the walls had those, like in a castle or something. You had those like mounted, like
sconces. It had sconces.
Yes, it had sconces. I think it did. We can look back. We can look at the pictures, but it had sconces.
We took so many pictures because once we realized what it was, we could not stop laughing. We took, I think, hundreds of pictures of us posing on Dungeon Gym equipment because we were just so tickled.
Well, after Sky Gym, we didn't think you could have a different kind of gym.
In fact, you even said at one point, "What else can we do here in Dungeon Gym?"
No, I said that?
Yeah. I wrote this down. What else can we do here in Dungeon Gym? She remarked casually.
Oh my god.
And I'm realizing now that we did everything but actually work out in Dungeon Gym.
Oh my god, you're right. Wait. No, this is wrong. You are not right. You know why? This is why. In all those 3,000 pictures we took, I mean, okay, not 3,000. Like, we took a substantial amount of photos. And I remember I took some photos of you lifting some weights.
I am lifting the tiniest weight. I picked up the smallest weight.
I believe that's a workout of the tiniest amount.
All right.
We did it.
I worked out in Dungeon Gym, but
you worked out in a Dungeon Gym.
Yeah. You did not work out in Dungeon Gym, but now you've been to gyms. You've been to many gyms. Yes, How do you feel? Are you a changed woman?
Yeah. In many ways, I would say I'm a changed woman.
Well, that is how we are. We're back. We are here to discuss, however, an etiquette question related to our travels. And that is, what is the etiquette surrounding being baffled by another country? And I say baffled in kind of a, I really want to be, fully respectful and fully, not ignorant, but baffled as one is sometimes when one is traveling and encountering things that one is not accustomed to. Because we were baffled by many a thing in Norway and Sweden where we had never been before.
What things were you baffled by, Vivian?
Well, we have our top 3 list of things that we are baffled by, but even before, I want to save that for kind of the end, like the special countdown. But I think there were 2 sort of like longer storyish things, and the first was unsmiling customer service. Do you remember this?
Baffling. This was truly baffling. I took it personally for a little while.
Yeah, because you like someone comes to you so sternly and like asks you quite direct questions, like, is there anything you were looking for? Right, with like us with an unsmiling face. We were, you feel as an American, maybe you first feel like, oh, am I intruding? Do they not want me to be here? Right, like it's so not what we're used to in a customer service. But they were perfectly polite. There was nothing. They weren't being rude. They were simply not smiling.
Yeah. It's a skill, right? Because like in any other kind of customer service situation, if somebody is not smiling, like there's some sort of like they're either giving you attitude in some way, but no, this person was very neutral. It was like completely neutral, non-smiling. Yeah.
So there were 2 such people. The first was the barista at Tim Wendelbo's, the coffee place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was great.
This is a no and knock. She was wonderful. We were so impressed in every. Oh my goodness. So, but remember when she came over to she would come over personally to people who ordered the coffee tasting plates, and she was the only person at the time manning the entire coffee shop, making all the drinks. But she personally came and carried out the tray of our coffees and explained in detail what notes we were gonna taste in each one of them, but with the gravest expression possible.
And I will tell you, I spilled water in that cafe, and she came up to me and said in her very grave and mostly unsmiling way, "It's just water. It'll dry off." And the Americans that were sitting adjacent to me looked horrified, and they were thinking, "It's not just water. Like, what do you?" But she was so calm. So calm. Just wiped it all up.
So calm. Yeah. But it was fascinating. The concept that you could have, a customer service reaction, interaction where the other person was not required to smile. And they were not unfriendly and they were not unhappy. They simply did not smile.
Yeah, that's true, right? They just didn't. And
it wasn't everybody. It wasn't everybody. Like when we went to the perfume shop, that woman was like beaming and constantly saying, like, "Good choice, good choice." She was
very validating. Very affirming.
She was very validating. But the other person was when we went to that like food hall in not food, like kind of market food hall in Stockholm. We went to that. We were walking all around, and we bought a lot of chocolate bars from one of the stands. And there was that man, that tall, unsmiling man.
And tall and unsmiling. That's what. And he was also elevated. I think he was standing on some kind of
He was like on a slightly I think the way that the thing was, we were on a slightly lower ground than he was, and so he was towering over us. Yeah, but not in a not an uncomfortable, intimidating way. He simply was tall and unsmiling.
and completely unsmiling the whole time, the entire exchange.
Yep.
Not even a straight. Yeah. Sorry. What?
No. Yeah. Not even a.
Oh, I was just gonna say, not even like a, with in America, right? If you were buying like this many bars of chocolate, you would at least get one offhand comment, like either a validating comment, right? Like, oh, good choice, these are great chocolates, or something, right?
Yeah, I think in the Midwest, certainly.
In the Midwest. Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah.
And I think at the very end, when we had finished the transaction, and I gosh, like he was very patient because I paid him in cash because I was getting rid of my cash. He was counting it, he was. So we were a slightly tiresome exchange. And then we hovered and we took forever choosing the chocolate bars. We didn't bother him, but we took a long time. We weren't holding anyone up. But at the end of it, if someone had bought this many very expensive chocolate bars, they were expensive, but they were excellent. But you would have gotten a slight smile out of the coldest American shopkeeper, right?
Right.
The grumpiest, most curmudgeonly American shopkeeper would have either like a slight smile or like a these women, like just kind of like a slight, like, if it was a smirk to himself would have been had.
Yes.
And this man, nothing, no smile.
A facial expression.
A facial expression with upturned lips.
Yes.
And, you said something to me so lovely afterwards. Something like, sometimes people are having a bad day. Like, just because we're these delighted tourists in no way obligates, them to smile at us. And maybe they were, I don't think they were necessarily, but maybe they were going through something. And they didn't have to smile at us, and they didn't. And it was fine.
Yeah, because they managed to pull that off without being rude, right? Like,
absolutely not. Yeah. But it's so funny. Yeah. But in like an American culture, not only, but I feel like, you're just always, and I would say this to my students giving presentations, like even a student giving a very serious presentation on a grim issue, I would tell them, like, you need to smile a little at some point. It's at the beginning, and then you make your serious, but you must. It's I didn't realize how basic it was, or not basic, but like it is so we're so accustomed to it.
Yeah. We are as a greeting, as an opening or some sort of introduction. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's so expected that something is slightly wrong, or you're trying to communicate something unfriendly if by not smiling.
Yeah.
So that was baffling to us, but I liked your approach where you thought, maybe this is how it is here, and then next you thought maybe they're having a bad day. They're human beings.
You're very kind, Vivian, but I just generally tend to be like, maybe that's just how they do it here, like I did with the chair in the dungeon. So, like, like the chair.
It's, this is I don't know how we would begin to, but like, it's kind of funny sometimes. I like to think of categories of things, and one of them is things you thought were just strange and part of another culture. Strange in the sense of not, something you're accustomed to, but were quite normal, but you didn't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge category of things.
I
can think of lots of things like that.
Oh, that's so funny.
So that was the first. That was one of our things. People who don't smile, and then we loved this moment of we were buying souvenirs in Stockholm. In Gamlestan, which was the only place where souvenirs are sold, we seemed to discover.
And we were quite happy to find those souvenirs.
Oh, we were so happy. Because it was, it was our last day. It was our souvenir buying day. We had been all around Stockholm. We had been amazed at how uncommercialized the places were. Like, we were in, touristy cities. Yeah. And you barely saw a Viking t-shirt or something on sale. Like, we finally did in some, a little, but like, in America or in many other places, it would line the street. You could not, you would trip over some kind of nonsense souvenir.
Yeah. You would.
And we saw none in, I feel like we got pretty nice, like, actual products in the rest of Stockholm, except for this one, the few souvenir shops that we went to that were the souvenirs.
That's true. Yeah.
And we had such joy finding it. Can you describe the magnet that you bought for your mother? Because it just...
Oh, yes.
That was my favorite of all the souvenirs.
So we needed to get a souvenir. I mean, okay, so we're in a souvenir shop, and it was just like a souvenir shop should be, right?
Just souvenirs,
Eclectic mix of things. And, I know a lot of people do this when they travel. They'll buy a magnet from the place they went to, and for some reason, I'm not sure how, but this is something that my mother got into. So now, if you travel somewhere, usually like we'll get a magnet from there, and we'll I'll give it to her.
Yeah.
Um, and so there was a number of magnets I could have chosen from, and some were very classy. Some were decent, and then there's some that were less interesting. But then there were some that were what can I say? They were dazzling. They just like they caught your eye. They were like they were shining. They're golden. And that's fine. Those are great. But then I found one that not only was dazzling, but it also had charms hanging from it. So that it had the name of the city spelled out. I think it was like Stockholm. And each letter was dangling like an earring. Oh, and the whole thing was golden. I couldn't have imagined like a more like celebratory magnet. Like this magnet was just, it looked like it wanted to be a piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
Like,
but was born a magnet.
It was born a magnet. It wanted to be something else, and it did it. Somehow it did. It said yes, and then it did it.
It was so fun, and I think they were the letters alternated in blue and yellow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
the colors of the Swedish flag.
I bought two. I got one. I got one with the dangly charms for my mom, and then there was one that was slightly less dangly, and I got that for my sister. And I think I'm going to actually present my sister with both of them and ask her to choose to give her a sense of choice. And I think she's going to choose the not dangling one, and then I think that we'll both be very happy.
Perfect. Yeah, and you'll have given your sister the feeling that she got to pick, but you know which one is for whom.
Yes, exactly. It's just all over. Yeah.
So we were in the souvenir shop, and we tell the story to kind of lay the context, right? Like the most souvenir selling of souvenir shops. I get like I think I got my parents like socks with like moose on them. I got the most souvenir-y stuff.
Didn't you?
And I got my mom a tote bag with this red horse we'd been seeing, which we now know is called a dollar horse. It's sort of, we had seen them around Sweden a little bit. And I go, okay, this is what, and this is what one wants for one's mother, right? Like a bag with a huge red dollar horse.
Yes.
This says your daughter loves you and bought you something on vacation.
Absolutely. Yes.
And we're just like, we spent like a really long time in this. We're so happy enjoying commerce.
Yeah. Commerce is great.
We hear this tourist man very politely asking the woman behind the counter, in English, which you can tell is not his first language, but he's very politely asking like, hello, what is the meaning of this horse? And he's pointing to this red dollar horse. And the woman goes, the horse has no meaning.
And she actually used those words.
That was exactly her phrase. Like the man was trying to say, like, is there history? Is there some story? She goes, no, the horse has no meaning. And she elaborated something like, it was, I can't remember if she said it was made or something. Like she said something like it was, and he was trying to connect it to some historical thing that he thought it was related to. And she was very firmly shutting him down.
Yeah.
He was so politely trying to, ask a local to relieve his bafflement of this other culture. And I would say I kind of appreciate in that, you can Google a thing, and you don't want to plague local people with your asinine tourist questions, but I think there's something about wanting to hear history and culture from somebody in person, right? You're asking someone what they think is really what's happening. You want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Or you're too lazy to Google. But I think this man was being he wanted to have a conversation, and he did not get one.
Yeah, I think he just wanted an interaction, right? Like he wanted to hear it from a local. Like you can read it in Wikipedia, but it's not going to be the same thing.
No. And so that evening when we looked it up, on Wikipedia or something, we found out that the woman was right.
She was absolutely correct.
She was right, and she was not fully right. But she was right in that it is a horse with no meaning, right? It's not a symbol of anything.
It's not, no. And actually, she was quite... Because I remember we were back in the hotel, and I was looking it up, or one of us was looking it up, or maybe we both were. But like and we kept trying to find the meaning in Wikipedia entry, but it kept sliding. Like it kept being like, and potentially this was the meaning, but like then, but not really. And so like,
Yeah.
it was just very unclear what the meaning, to the point where you realize actually this doesn't really have a fixed meaning.
It has no meaning. Yep.
It has no meaning. It's a horse with no meaning.
And so I think, on both ends, you're baffled by another country. You try to politely ask someone who seems like they would know. And I think on her end, if you don't feel like entertaining this question, you can simply state the truth bluntly.
Mhm.
And that is absolutely fine. She wasn't rude. She disappointed. The man looked a little crestfallen, but she wasn't rude.
Yeah.
She was matter of fact. And maybe she doesn't want to make up lies about her beloved country just to pacify a tourist who wants some meaning to take home,
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciated her honesty. She did a good job. It doesn't have meaning, no. I mean.
Yep. Yeah. But it's that, I think he used the word neutral of like the unsmiling barista. And it's right.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
Quite
she wasn't
neutral.
pandering. She wasn't, being like, oh, in my country we do that, right? Like you don't have to do that explaining thing that both make something more familiar and more foreign, right? Where you're kind of, I don't know. It just, she was great. Horse has no meaning. And then I think we didn't talk about it in the store, but we both heard it and talked about it afterwards, and just like we just kept saying it the whole trip. The horse has no meaning.
Yes, that's true. And every time we saw that horse, I think at some point, I think I tried to renew my search for meaning in that horse, and I remember there was no meaning. I tried.
None.
Oh, one thing I did realize is that in fact I think that there's a slight sense of like national shame around the fact that it has no meaning, because essentially there is, because it sounds like it was almost like a marketing it was something they knew would be something that tourists, they knew that the symbol would have some kind of ability to commodify in some way.
Yes.
So I think that there is also a sort of like a slight bashfulness about it, like somebody's asking you, oh, what is this thing, what's the meaning, and then you're confronted with the fact that there is no meaning.
Yeah And I think that in itself tells you something, right? Like that they're not like gleeful to pull the wool over someone else's eyes and be like, I'll spin you a yarn of this horse. They're
I'll call a spade a spade. Horse has no meaning.
Yeah, the horse has no meaning. So I think actually, and the man was probably baffled, but I think we learned a lot about Swedish culture from that interaction.
Yeah, at multiple levels.
On multiple levels. So that was great. And then I have here our list of top 3 things that most baffled us in our journeys through Norway and Sweden that I will go through, and Sophia, chime in as we go through them. We'll go from least to most baffled, although all of them baffled us greatly. Okay. And here is number 3, was we could not find plain sparkling water in the supermarket. And it was not that it was not there. We simply could never figure out the label for it.
This was baffling. Oh, I remember this. Yes, because, maybe what I'm realizing now, Vivian, is potentially maybe all the water was sparkling. Like, typically the way you know something is not sparkling is like there's a different word, right? Like, so even if you don't know the language, you can at least see that there's one that has a different word. But this one, there was no clear word that was different, like that you could when we went to the final, there was a store that we went to finally, it was a 7-Eleven, I think, and I asked for the sparkling water and she pointed it out, and it was one of those waters that I hadn't realized was sparkling because it was just only the water that was there. So I feel like they have mostly sparkling water only,
perhaps. And so they don't feel like they have to label it. It also, in the first place we went to, I very confidently, and we're standing there like Google translating the label. We're making an effort. We're slightly shaking the bottles. We're slightly shaking the bottles to see if they're gassy. And but there was one, I remember there was a label like Naturel, and I very confidently told you this is still, because everywhere else I've been, something
Mhm.
like the word natural is not
Mhm.
carbonated. But
Yes,
maybe
yes,
that
yes.
was, it meant unflavored because all
Yes.
the other sparkling water was
More
flavored. And we
flavored.
kept
Yep.
buying that because we couldn't find the plain.
Yes. Yes. I think that's exactly what it was. I think that's exactly what it was.
But you're right. Maybe it also wasn't labeled or something because we really tried and we could not
We
find
couldn't.
like the exact word. And
Yeah.
the thing that confirmed this for us was we were in Oslo and I was trying to buy brunost, brown cheese,
Mhm, mhm,
the
mhm.
brown cheese that we later took,
Yes.
to Oslo. I bought it in
Yes.
Stavanger. Okay, we've discussed this cheese
Yeah.
in a previous episode,
Yeah.
listeners. This is
We
the
have.
famed cheese. And we were buying it from like a little co-op-y supermarket.
Yeah.
And we spent a while looking at all the cheese.
Mhm.
And, as
We
you know,
did.
I don't like asking people for help if I can help it or because, customers, I want to find it on my own.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And I read all the labels, and finally I have to ask a person who's shelving, like, is there Brunost? And she points at this cheese that is not labeled Brunost. It's labeled something
Oh
else,
my
and you
goodness.
have to like
Yeah.
flip over to see through the packaging, and like
Yes. Yes,
it's
yes,
really
yes.
not. And I had to do it again for the kind of like bread we wanted to buy
Yes. Yes, yes,
because it
yes. You're
wasn't in the
right.
section with a lot of the fresh bread. It was like the kind
Mhm.
in the package. I forget
Yeah.
what, like and it wasn't that exact word, which I took a photo of from the breakfast buffet, was not
Mm.
used on the packaging of it. So maybe it's so obvious to
Yeah.
people or something, but it's not labeled as such.
Yeah. The labeling thing was definitely very baffling.
Very
Um,
baffling, especially since so much of Scandinavian design, deservedly so, is so
yeah.
intuitive.
Yeah. 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 I think they have very good water. I remember reading somewhere. I wonder if like most people drink tap water and so the only water
Oh,
that would make sense to sell is something that you
is
can't
sparkling.
necessarily make because that would
Maybe.
explain it.
That would
'Cause
explain it.
everyone
And
drinks.
listeners,
Yeah.
if you know the answer, please drop us a line, because that baffled us throughout the trip. Number 2, we were baffled that many bars do not serve food.
This was quite baffling.
Yeah, starting with Sky Bar. Do you remember that? After we got back
Yes!
late
Oh, we were so hungry.
from Norway Chess, we were so hungry. It was after
Yeah.
10. Everything was
Yes,
closed.
yes, yes.
And we'd wanted to go to Sky Bar because you had like read
Yeah.
about it. And so we go up to Sky Bar and I'm like, surely they'll sell us like a sandwich. And none. There was no food whatsoever. We were
Mm.
shocked.
But I will say that led to one of my fondest memories in Stavanger,
Mm.
which is we went to the floor that they would have the breakfast buffet, and we got like
Hmm.
cereal and fruit
Yeah.
and
Banana
you know
chips.
banana
Yeah.
chips, milk, soy milk.
Yeah. We had a lovely little like breakfast for dinner.
Yeah, with some leftovers that we'd had from the
Mhm.
tea. We had
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
We
good.
had leftovers. It was very good, but it was so baffling to us. And then when we went to the Good Night, we looked it up ahead. They don't sell food. They were like, you can
Don't.
bring your own in. There are so many, they said there's like something like 500 takeout places near or something. They gave it maybe
Yeah, yeah,
15, but it was a huge number.
yeah,
They were
yeah, yeah,
surrounded by
yeah,
food, and they said
yeah.
we just don't serve food. And I would imagine that's somewhat common, I guess, since that was,
Yeah.
I don't know, it just seemed, and we were so shocked. Like, I feel like the whole point of a bar is to serve you food, and that makes you thirsty, so you get another drink, then you're hungry, so you get another thing to eat, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know, it's so plain as day to me that while you're there, your bar would try to sell you more things. But maybe again, that's our rampant American commercialism that can't see any other way, that you could easily get your food somewhere else. Or my theory was that it's easier for just one bartender to run the whole bar that way, and they don't have to keep a kitchen.
This is true. Like maybe there's a stricter like codes or something. There could be like
Maybe stricter codes. And maybe something to do with the history of alcohol licensing or something. But
mm.
it blew my mind.
It was very surprising. I thought at least there'd be fries. Or like
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
very typical bar food, right? Like you're not supposed to drink
Mhm.
on an empty stomach.
That's also it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So amazing. Inconceivable.
Yes.
And yet baffling.
Yes.
But the thing that baffled us most of all, item number 1, I'm looking at my notes and they say, why no shower ledge? And what we mean by this is 2 of our 3 hotels had absolutely no shower box ledge situation in that. Okay, so the first one had these like 2 glass doors that you could wedge together. And if you did it exactly right, you could prevent water from flowing out into the rest of the bathroom, which was just a flat tiled floor.
Mm-mm. I have doubts about that. Like there was still some trickle. Like even if you did it exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we never got it exactly. And we tried. I got a little better with each passing day and I just kept the shower on kind of low. But
I mean, Vivian, you were good at it. I think somehow you're maybe Nordic in this way. I was not good at it, no matter what. Over like that entire trip, didn't get better.
Yeah, but especially, I mean, you had to do it precisely right, and and then the next 2 places were just like a flat floor and like a shower head, and one had this like weird, like I'm kind of remembering like a half glass panel that did nothing. It neither, it didn't like hide your nudity. It didn't prevent water from getting everywhere. Am I imagining this? There was like a little half panel.
A half panel? Which one?
I don't remember. I just remember one of them had like, because I looked at it and I was like, oh, maybe this is like a door that you slide. Maybe there's more where this came from, and there
maybe
wasn't.
This was in Oslo. Maybe this was in Oslo.
Maybe I can't really remember. I think the last one had nothing.
It was nothing. Yeah, the last one had nothing at all. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just got less ledge over time, right? It started.
Yeah, and we just couldn't. Not only the lack of like enclosure, but the floor ledge, so that the water just went over the entire floor. Was so baffling to us.
So baffling. And I did some research on this afterward. Again, something to do with like I think you want surfaces to not grow mold. There's something about the whole code thing.
Minimalism. You want as little in the bathroom as possible so that there's less for mold to grow on.
Less for mold. It's crazy. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's smart. It makes sense. And if you have good drainage, it completely makes sense.
Good drainage. And then we said something like maybe it reduces like tripping hazards because your floor is flat, but then your whole floor
it's an accessibility thing.
Yeah, but then your whole floor is wet, which also seems weird.
It dries really quickly.
But it dries very quickly.
They're quite small. Like none of these bathrooms are like they're quite small. The bathrooms.
Yeah. So something's going on there, and we were baffled, and we really wanted to ask someone about this. But we never got around to it. We were on our merry way. Next time, if we ever go back. But it is something I would really like an answer to. But if when you're baffled by another country, you can just be baffled. You can just enjoy the experience, I guess.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, I think at the end, I enjoyed those showers. It felt very freeing to have water just everywhere. And, like, there's not many chances in life you have for just spilling water with no consequences. Usually when I spill water, there's consequences and apologies and such. Maybe that's why this woman was so nice, like the cafe, when I spilled the water. Maybe they're just so used to water on the ground. They're like, oh, it's just water.
It's just water. Yeah, I do this every day in the shower. I had one more thought suddenly as I was telling you all this, which is maybe there's some kind of Nordic way of showering that is so elegant that you do not splash a drop. There's something. Maybe there's some method that is. They would not even think to mention it. It's it's one of those but it's like it's almost like you wouldn't explain to someone how to. Like
open a banana, like
peel banana or like something so from that you practically know how to do. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's some secret method, and we can't even find it on the internet because they're modest and it's so known that it's not written down.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting.
Maybe when they go to other places and there's like ledges and walls, they're like, "What is this?
Like, why?"
Why sacrilege?
I'll trip
I can
over
only
this.
imagine. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
dreadful. And
Yeah.
so that is I guess that's the conclusion we've reached. Do you have anything else to add, Sophia? On we need nibbles.
We
On
do need
the
nibbles.
etiquette of being baffled. Or we're kind of
I think that we've exhausted it. I think we have been baffled thoroughly with good cheer.
with good cheer. Yep, you're right. That's the last thing. Keep up good cheer. There's no need to think the other way is wrong. There's no need even to have the mystery solved. It is fine to be cheerful and baffled.
And if it recurs,
Listeners, oh yeah.
I think if it recurs, if you keep seeing the same baffling thing over and over, just assume that it's normal. Don't
Perfectly
ask
normal,
questions.
like the chair. Yeah, the
normal.
chair that goes up the side of
Yep.
the stairs. Yep, maybe it is normal.
That's the reason.
Yep, everything in life happens for a reason. Listeners, we would love to hear your questions, your follow-up questions to our questions, your questions about etiquette, and things that have baffled you while you were traveling. Please send us your questions at noetiquettepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you here next time on No Etiquette. And until then, it is good etiquette. Smile faintly if you don't feel like it. It's okay. Let other people make of it what they will. True freedom is allowing yourself to be misunderstood by others. As wise people have once said, you are well within high etiquette to do so.
Wise words, Vivian. Good night.